I'm not actually talking about your friends or other veterans you meet and people you just generally talk to about your claim. I'm talking about when you get to that point where you want to get another person involved to actually get into the weeds and help you fight the VA on your disability claim. And when you get to that point, I really think you should be working with an accredited representative. In the most simplest terms, an accredited representative is somebody who the VA has approved to help veterans with their VA disability claims. Now, the big chunk of accredited representatives are employees of, the VFW, the DAV, the Legion, other veteran service organizations. A lot of states and even counties will have their own VSOs that do essentially the same thing. There are also a lot of attorneys that work out of clinics that are affiliated with law schools or other larger nonprofit type projects. There are also independent attorneys and agents, people like me, who are accredited and help people on our own. So back to the point though, why should you use an accredited representative? I'm going to walk through a few reasons, and the first one is that an accredited representative can do a lot more to actually represent you than a non-accredited representative. An accredited rep can get in there and argue your case before the VA, both in writing, which they should be doing with supplemental claims and with higher level reviews and board appeals, but they can also be at the higher level review conferences and at the board hearings, and they can interact with the VA about your claim and argue why what the VA did was wrong. The VA is also obligated to talk to accredited representatives when they call to talk about the status of a claim. The VA is also required to mail all of the standard notices to your representative in addition to mailing them to you. The second reason to use an accredited representative is because an accredited representative has the ability to get access to your C-file. And not just the CD you get in the mail, they can get access to the electronic version that the VA uses. This is absolutely game-changing, and it's hard to overstate how important this is. But being able to see the live updates of what the VA is doing with your claim makes a representative so much more effective at what they do. Now, to be fair, most of the time, nothing is happening. We spend most of the time with our claims just waiting on other people to do things. But as soon as exam requests start popping up, I can see those for the veterans I work with. I can review that and see if there's likely going to be a problem coming with that exam just based off the request. It's the same thing when the actual exam comes back. I can see it when it hits the C file, and I can talk to the veteran about it. And if it's a bad exam, we can start doing some damage control based off of that. There's lots of times I'll talk to a veteran right after they get out of a CMP exam, and they'll tell me, all the bad things that happened. What I tell them is, write it down, start drafting out a lay statement that we may or may not use. Then when the exam comes back, if it is a bad exam, within a couple of days, usually we're filing a lay statement that gives, the veteran's side of that exam. And then it's in the file and it's permanent. This can be very helpful for a veteran to do damage control after a bad exam. Now, it might be long-term damage control, but it's still damage control. And I got to say, when I'm working on a claim, I'm thinking about the long run. I'm always less concerned about the immediate decision that we're waiting for and more concerned with positioning the claim so that it has the best likelihood of winning over the long haul. But I never complain if we win right away. Okay, the third reason to use a VA accredited representative is that by becoming accredited, we have all met at least some minimum level of training and education. So we've got some, base level knowledge of VA claims. And also, we subject ourselves to punishment by the VA if we mess up a claim or just generally violate the law regarding what we can and can't do when we represent a veteran. I will say the training and education requirements are not that difficult. it's like many things in life. Like the true professionals will go above and beyond the bare minimum to increase their knowledge of their profession. But still, there is a floor that an accredited representative has to get over. As far as punishments go, the big one is that the VA can take away accreditation. That means, of course, you can't represent veterans anymore. You can't look at the C-files. And, you might be thinking, well, no big deal. But still, that's, for most of us, that would be a loss of a job. And for an attorney, it gets worse because the VA is also going to report that loss of accreditation to every state where we happen to have a law license. And then that state may or may not take it upon themselves to conduct their own investigation and could impose further disciplinary action, which could include losing a law license. So the bottom line is there are potentially some serious consequences if an accredited representative messes up a claim or violates the law in some other way. Okay, so let's shift gears real quick and talk about these non-accredited representatives. Now, again, I'm not talking about your friends. I'm not talking about other veterans you bump into on the street. In order to be a non-accredited representative, you have to do some representing. There is a bit of a gray area here, and I have to say that sometimes, I even think about, am I going a little bit too far in some of my answers to the comments that pop up on these YouTube videos? I don't think I am, and I'll try to explain kind of where I see that line. In order to represent somebody, you're really getting into the weeds. You're reviewing decision documents, and you're understanding the background facts of a case, like all the facts, not a quick summary. You're helping develop evidence, lay statements, and medical opinions, and other evidence for whatever the case may require. And you're also most likely filing the documents for the veteran. Now, if you're doing those things and you're not accredited, you're at a pretty serious disadvantage. You can't interact with the VA. You can't be submitting written arguments. You can't argue for the veteran. You can't see the C-file, which is huge. I don't know how you develop evidence to help a veteran if you can't see the C-file. Almost every lay statement that I work on, almost every medical opinion that I help a veteran get, what we're trying to do with those is rebut a very specific error that a VA C&P examiner has made. And if you can't see what the C&P examiner did or said, then how can you do that? It's more troubling for me when a veteran's paying for a medical expert. If we're going to do that, I want to know that the expert opinion is going to be as strong as it can possibly be. But if you don't know what that doctor is up against, or even who the doctor is up against in terms of, is it another doctor or is it a physician's assistant or what? Like how can you get the best opinion? How can you be sure you're spending that veteran's money in the best way you can? It's very troubling for me. And the last thing I'll say there is that, if a claim gets screwed up because of something the representative does, there's essentially nothing you can do. So the big players in this non-accredited representative field are companies that call themselves claims consultants. There is currently a quirk in federal law right now, which essentially protects them from any harm they may cause or any laws that they may violate. So essentially, the VA can only punish accredited representatives. So the fact that these companies and these people are not accredited means the VA can't do anything, or at least that's what the VA's Office of General Counsel has said when they've been asked by folks why they're not doing something. There are some states that have taken a look at these. I think the Texas Attorney General's office is investigating one of these claim consultant companies. I don't actually know which one. I don't know the status of the investigation either. It's just something that I had heard. I realize that's the type of thing that sounds shady, and now I'm wishing I would have done some more research before I press record on this video, but I'll leave it there for what it's worth. By not being able to be held accountable, the claims consultant outfits can get away with a lot. Like I said, they can mess up claims. I've seen them tell a veteran to let the 1-year appeal period expire on a claim, then file a new claim with another theory of service connection. I cannot tell you how wrong that is. That is the type of mistake that makes the infantryman in me want to choke somebody. It is awful. If I did something like that, it would be legal malpractice. These companies will also quite often charge veterans far and above what the law allows accredited representatives to charge veterans for representing them. You may not know it, but there are federal laws about when and how much somebody like me can charge a veteran for representing them on a VA disability claim. I plan to cover that in another video. I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of that here. But the main point is claims consultants don't follow that law. And if you are unhappy with what they are charging you for what they did, you really have no recourse. Although I will say, on some level, I don't know if the contracts that they make veterans sign are actually legally enforceable. And here's what I mean. Federal law says that if you are representing a veteran before the VA on a disability claim, you have to be accredited. These people, companies, are not accredited, and they are representing veterans. Therefore, what they're doing is a violation of federal law. So that makes me think they haul you into court and say, this person owes us money and refuses to pay. The judge may not enforce that contract. Now, I don't know for sure. It definitely is going to depend on the specific language in the contract. It's going to depend on what state you're in. I'm not giving legal advice for any specific person here. But if it was me and I was unhappy, that's something that might be worth looking into. And I do feel like in order to be fair, I have to say that I have talked to some veterans who've worked with these companies who have been completely happy with the way things turned out and how much they were charged for what they got out of the deal. And fair enough. Like if you understand what you're getting into and understand the options and you think that it's a worthwhile thing, I'm generally in favor of competent adults agreeing to whatever they want to agree to. The things that I don't like are people that operate outside the law, people who use pressure or bullying or the lack of information to take advantage of others who are vulnerable and may not know better. Those are the things that really get under my skin. The last thing I want to say is that it is easy to find out if the person who's helping you is accredited. The VA has a website. You can go there and look them up. I will put a link to that website below the video in the description. You can go there and look me up as a test. I guarantee you'll find me. And I think that'll do it for this video. Hope you found it helpful. If you'd like me to help you with your VA disability claims, you can reach out to me through the links below. I'm Al Walsh, a veteran who likes to help other veterans. Thanks for watching.